Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jati Chirabanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanand Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading this morning from there's two parts, and this is chapter 5, text 223. Ya ya vachahaya dhainyam matnya chastaryam etitat tam yatnena bhajed vidva Tadviruddhani varjayet adhainyam matyachastaryam eti tat tam yatena bhajed vidvangs tadviruddhani varjayet. Yaya Dhainyam Tat Staryam Eti Tat Yaya Vachaya Dhainyam Vaitya Staryam Eti Tat Tam Yatnena Bhajed Vidvangs Tadvivruddhani Varjayat. Ladies? Yaya Vachaya Dhainyam Matya Chastaryam Eti Tam Yatnena Bhajed Vidvangs Tad Viruddhani Varjayet. Yaya Vachaya Dhainyam Chastaryam Yaya by which vacha, language, iha, dainyam, utter humility, matya, by which mode of thinking, and stairyam, firmness, iti, attains, that, nena, with weight, virudhani, obstacles, arjayat, an intelligent person should, thinking that fix him in utter humility, of it, he should avoid. And there's no purport. The Gopikumara has translated it as utter humility, and the reason for that is the context. There's humility, and then there's utter humility. So that's our topic: humility, utter humility. There's somebody in the audience, it's one of their favorite verses. So the section, which is chapter 5, is love of God. And his name is Kumar. He was in a cowherd and other boys as time Brahmin, who regularly attracted this Brahmana, so Gopa Kumar, sought his association, and in course of time he requested from this Brahmana, the Brahmana ecstasy for, he just received the mantra. Surprisingly, and it's the same as Madan Mohan, Madan Gopal. By the way, Sanatana Goswami, his deity was just chanted his mantra. The mantra took him to this situation, that situation, other situation, gradually, eventually at the end of, and lots of things before that. In this so it's progressive, that realization. We know the meanings of the mantras and the goal of the mantra chanting and how we're to chant, and so Gopikumara didn't know any of those things, and gradually they became revealed to him. Periodically, from time to time, he would again meet his master and so forth. So this is the progressive stages of realization of prema bhakti. And at the topic of the chapter, profound humility for prema bhakti. And then there's this profound humility. The discussion, it's in Lord Jagannath Puri, where Gopikumara is receiving instructions from Narada about worshipping Lord Jagannath, because the deity of his mantra is Madan Gopal, and Madan Gopal resides in Goloka and Dwarka. But Krishna in Dwarka towards Vrindavan, which comes in part 1, and very kind, according to your mood of love for him, then stay here for yourself to go to the quality of Goloka, or to come before Madan Gopal. So, describing that Braja Prem, we know that Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Amne Gaur Trishe Namaha. He came to give this Braja Prem. The gift, we were speaking yesterday evening, this is coordinated, by the way. Yesterday's evening was feeling gratitude for the gift that we have received. And one who feels gratitude, that's the seed of love. But if we don't know what it is that we feel any heart, then we're and recognize what we've received of feel gratitude. So the gift, Chaitanya, is the gift of Braja Prem. That's what's being. I'll just read. That kind of love all through one developed by practicing the devotional service and singing the many Braja pastimes, most beloved holy name, Kirtan Vishnu Smaranam, specifically topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, the personality of Braja Prem, far different from, right, Rupa Goswami. At every stage, it did by indifference to them, and its root is dainya, utter humility. Its root is dainya, utter humility. And within the commentary here, in all its, in this life and the next, is always decorated with the ornament, the verse from to Lord Nrsingadev. The first part was, detachment, recognizing or a self to well filled, like detachment from, and all those other things that we discussed yesterday. So, finger prayers, but that other one. From India, you all know that one, other one. So, those things. You want to give me a benediction, please. I don't want those things. I saw Hiranyakashipu. He was at the pinnacle of having those things. In a flash, it was taken from him, and he was suffering miserably when he had them. And it was all taken away from him in a flash. So, again, this sentence: Bhakti yoga in all its fit, and sadhana, the means and the attainment of the means, with one's physical body and senses, and the body's external. When one allows secondary means and goals, that's this karmic dominant. And fill in the blank. Dash. A candidate for pure bhakti must always take help from it. Dash is utter humility. So this is the humility of prema bhakti. And there's, humility in prior stages. We'll hear in just a moment. But for the moment, the focus is going on the utter humility message. So below, next verse, 222. Wise men define dainya, humility, as the state in which one always thinks oneself exceptionally incapable. Anybody ever have that thought? I know some people that have that thought. Exceptionally incapable. And low, even when endowed with all excellences. Commentary. Narada's own definition of dainya distinguishes his use of the word from other possible meanings, such as, for example, poverty, or becoming selfless by not accepting charity, and being free from egoism. So this is this utter humility, aside from those that are more the conventional sense of humility. Someone might say that the quality of thinking oneself very fallen may also be seen in persons who are simply lazy, or those who abandon auspicious work, or indulge in sinful acts. Therefore, Narada specifies that one who actually has dainya is endowed with all good qualities. For instance, such a person observes positive and negative regulations. He is free of false ego, and he has a healthy fear of material life. Furthermore, though Narada doesn't say so, transcendental dainya is a state of extreme agitation that can lead one to tears and other ecstatic outbursts. Then this one, an intelligent person should carefully cultivate speech, behavior, and thinking that fix him in utter humility, and anything that stands in the way of it he should avoid. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. And it's not like it just chant Hare Krishna Prabhu and humility is going to descend out of the sky and it's going to happen. Rather, bhajet tam yat nena bhajet vidvangs. The vidvangs, the intelligent person, bhajet, should cultivate. Like sometimes there's this question, do we need to cultivate the qualities of a devotee? Or will the qualities of a devotee just become the decorations of that devotee? And one can speak both ways. Prabhupada speaks one of those two ways in Bhagavad Gita. Just bhakti, but the subset of bhakti, that is, what's bhakti? We were discussing yesterday evening. It's a condition of heart, or the soul itself is meant, my existence, not the covering, but my existence. Why living entities? Why do we exist? For the pleasure of Krishna. That's all. And my heart's desire is to be pleasing to Krishna. And the chanting of the holy name awakens that dormant desire, because it's dormant because it's covered by all these other desires. I want fill in the blank. Om Jagadisha Hare. Or bhakti disappears or is diminished. So bhakti is just this one thing. As we heard Narada say to Lord Nrsingadev, just this one thing. What's that? Please keep me engaged in your service. Please take away all the desires. Of course, he was already free from all the desires, but he didn't stop asking, please take away all of the desires. Because the tendency is for them to come back again. Unless it's from the heart, we just do with our mind and say, oh, I'll get rid of this desire, that desire. But the contamination, the force of Maya is so strong, we find ourselves once again in that position. Even when we do, a very thorough cleaning. Just like do a double take and there it is again. The section of third canto Bhagavatam that I've been reading is Kapila Dev's discussions with Devahuti of how to become free from attachment. In her case, the attachment to family life, but attachment. So he describes a lengthy process, and that lengthy process of understanding categories of matter, categories of spirit, we belong to category of spirit, and then with that category of spirit understanding, cultivate bhakti. Then he goes on and says, even with that, we find ourselves back again. And Devahuti says, help, how do you overcome this back again thing? And ultimately, it's mercy. So we'll come to that again. Overcoming Maya is not a singular event. I fell into Maya and then I overcame Maya. Not like that. Not like that. It's by bhakti alone, proportionate to one's purification that comes from sustained tivra bhakti. Krishna sees that, and proportionate to, he removes that influence of Maya. Proportionate to. So, next verse in 224, Dainya, at its most exalted, comes forth when prema, pure love of God, reaches full maturity, as it did for the women of Gokula when they were separated from Krishna. Dainya. They were feeling other things, but utter humility. Commentary. Ordinary dainya can be developed by human effort. The previous verse. But there is also a type of dainya beyond the mundane that comes from receiving the Supreme Lord's favor. The word tu in this verse, tu, contrasts these distinct kinds of dainya. Almost everyone in the material world is separated from Krishna, but most people never experience dainya because they have no prema. Therefore, they can never become free from suffering and attain true happiness. To achieve transcendental dainya, one must learn to love Krishna in the mood felt by the gopis, led by Sri Radha, when Krishna left them to go to Mathura. We can understand from the example of the gopis, viraha bhav, their feelings of love and separation, that this special dainya arises only when, by Sri Krishna's exceptional mercy, a devotee who has realized Krishna's sweetness develops extraordinary prema in his heart in the mood of separation. As prema appears in degrees of excellence, so does dainya. Commonly, we're not so much commonly hearing about this, the dainya feature of the gopis. Elsewhere in this Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Narada is speaking about the experience of the residents of Vrindavan, leave Vrindavan to go to Mathura. Unbearable. That normally we don't speak these things because the pain is too much, and especially when people that have a material conception of life hear these things, they run the other way. No, I don't want that. But once he starts speaking about it, he can't stop speaking about it because it's the highest kind of happiness that looks like the greatest kind of misery. So worldly people can't understand how that humility and the feelings of separation from Krishna is the greatest kind of happiness. It looks awful. And even he doesn't want to talk about it, although he understands it. What to speak of people that don't understand it? So it's profound. So let's go back to something that's less profound, and then we'll come back again to the profound. Hearing about humility in relation to the chanting of the holy name. Yes? Trinadapi Sunichena. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the first two verses of Shikshastakam, is describing the seven wonders of the holy name, that first verse, and then the mercy of Krishna that's available. He has millions of names, and each one of those names he's invested all of his transcendental potency, and there's no hard and fast rules for chanting of the holy name. But I have no attraction. What's wrong? Well, one's lacking humility, for starters. So what's that lacking of humility? Well, I like my material situation. I want to take my material the expectation of happiness from my material situation into the realm of devotion to Krishna. I want to take my dirty laundry with me to Goloka. I'm sorry, you have to leave your dirty laundry outside, and your shoes too. Well, I'm attached. Maybe I can sneak it in. Maybe no one will be watching, or something. I mean, just we're attached. Again, it's the same message as Kapila speaking to Devahuti, and the discussion yesterday evening about the sine curve. With our process of reasoning and knowledge, our faculty of discernment, we can understand this is good. I should do this. We, start down the path of cultivating this, and the next thing we know, we're distracted, isn't it? And then we go, oh, I got distracted, so let me try again. And it happens again and again and again and again. So there's different types of humility. One type of humility that whatever faculties I have or something, whatever endowments Krishna has given me, I use those things, but inside there's no real devotion. Anyone had that thought or feeling? We all have. I mean, any little bit at least, or a lot, or sometimes like overwhelming. And that, there's a feeling of humility when that arises. And the tendency is to tuck it under the rug and move on. I don't like that feeling, so I just keep, doing the thing that I was doing before. Whatever it is, whatever intelligence, ability, strength, singing, dancing, organizing, doing, instead of attending to the essence. We do the external without the essence. And then, the sine curve keeps going. Making reference to discussion yesterday evening. Or there's another one. Maybe here's a real common one. I started the process of devotional service, and sooner or later, sometimes it's later, I started getting this realization. My goodness, look inside there and see all that impure thing. And then you keep looking at an impure thing, and it's not just a little bit. It's a big impure thing. I didn't even know it was there. And then it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then there's more of not just a little bump, but a mountain and a whole mountain range of stuff in there. You know that feeling? There's that kind of humility. Now, humility, in the spiritual conception of humility, it's an impetus. But sometimes there's another type of humility when we go into lamentation. You know, the mode of ignorance kind, where it's like Superman and kryptonite. We just get weaker and weaker. Oh. Mode of ignorance. That's not humility. That's ignorance. Then there's another type. Just see how humble I am. Whether I advertise it or I don't advertise it, I feel good about myself because I've become a little humble. There's another type of false humility. Supposing we don't succumb to the mode of ignorance kind or the false ego kind, but we stay with it. We don't tuck it under the rug, we stay with it. There are these terms, I'm sure you're familiar with them, at least have heard them. Avaranatmika Shakti, and I always get the pronunciation wrong, so I wrote it down. Prakshepatmika Shakti. So here's the distinction between the two of them. These are two divisions of the potency of Maya. What are they? Prapekshatmika Shakti is the throwing potency. You know, the living entity is thrown into the material energy. And then once in the material energy, the covering potency. So here's the distinction, or one way that Prabhupada makes the distinction. The potency of diversion is a language that he has in his talks with Sanatan Goswami, or about Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami is proposing to the jail keeper, one who delivers another from suffering. The person who is delivered is benefited, and the person who is the deliverer is benefited. So Prabhupada comments that's the throwing potency. And so diversion, it's like, you know, our real identity and diversion from our real identity. And with that diversion from the real identity, it simply impels one to stay in the material condition. That's the description that Kapila Deva is discussing with Devahuti. The other is, then I accept another conception of who I am instead of who I am. You know, we say upadhis, you know, our designations, and whatever those are. There's a whole variety. It's who we aren't. But we accept who we aren't to be who we are. And with that, we accept misery to be happiness. And, you know, think it's nice. Although we know it's suffering, we just keep going. Thinking it's nice, or if I just simply adjust, it's going to be nice. And just, you know, the donkey program, just keep going on and going on and going on, very stubbornly going on. Even though it's misery, we try to make it happiness. So the transcendental knowledge part is that which can, like what Kapila Deva was teaching to Devahuti, or what Prahlad is speaking, we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we can be relieved of that misconception. That's the Avaranatmika Shakti. But then still there's this other diversion. You know, when we sit down to chant japa, and instead of paying attention to the holy name, we're distracted by, you know, something. That's this other potency. And with that other potency, then, stubbornly we continue to try to be the enjoyer of what we're not, or, forgetting who we really are. So there's transcendental knowledge that can relieve us, the potency is there, the proper conception. We're stubbornly involved in, the essence of forgetfulness of who we really are. And stay in that position, and really soon we're going to go back to, some other contemplation, the diversion from who we really are position. And do it again and again and again and again and again. So leads to another kind of humility. Like crying. Feeling very discouraged. Sometimes there's that kind of humility. That's exactly what Devahuti says to Lord Kapila Dev. She says that the Lord's energy is inseparable from him. Although they appear to be two things, it's one thing. It's him and his energy. Or it's in the case of Kapila, it's you and your energy. So one may have the discrimination, I belong to this category, not to that category, but unless the Lord withdraws the illusory energy, it's going to stay. So why doesn't he just withdraw it? Because we want it to stay. We're under the influence of Maya. The misuse of free will thing is still happening. We can't blame the circumstances or providence or something. It's our continued misuse of free will. So what's his? He agrees with her and says yes. But the remedy is this humility, combined with faith in the process and the attainments available through the process. And of course, which was what Prahlad was saying to Lord Nrsingadev. Narada's association, please. In the language of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, let me just stand by the side of Narada. That's what I want. Because in his association, the illusion is gone and reality is there. How have I come to this position? By the mercy of Narada. So there's faith because there's practical experience. But the practical experience is because there's qualification. But without the heart being open, how is one going to receive even where there's qualification? In an Ayurvedic doctor's office in Bombay, and this particular Ayurvedic doctor that I've been seeing for a number of years, he has kind of like an elite fan club. From time to time, different VIP people come to his place, and he has a way with them. So one of the persons that came to his office one time was a man that had met Prabhupada. And it just really struck me. He was going on about Swamiji, I could understand he was really special, and he wasn't like everyone else, and he was going on and on like that. And I was thinking, why didn't he had those understandings, but understanding wasn't enough. The light went on, but his heart didn't move. No loss, because so many years later, whatever that was, 30-something years later, he still, has that feeling for, Prabhupada was very special. No loss. Spiritually. A loss in the sense that he didn't take further advantage, but the merciful nature of a merciful person. We'll be discussing this a little bit this evening, the relationship of daya, or compassion, and humility. They go well together. They're part and parcel of the same thing. The spiritual position, that's the same thing. One who has this transcendental humility, while it may, feel uncomfortable or stronger, it may feel painful or stronger, and may make one cry, it's a foundation for receiving. And that which is to be received is worth receiving. Unless one's heart is humble, how are you going to receive anything? I'm okay, you're okay. That's what will happen. I'm okay, you're okay. I forget which Mayavadi sannyasi said like that to Prabhupada, I'm okay, you're okay. And Prabhupada said, you are not okay and I'm okay. Something like that. Swamiji, how can you speak like that? So, humility allows the heart to open, and when the heart is open, it can receive. And that which one can receive from the transcendental, there's the beginning, as like this budget, cultivate. And there are these three areas that are mentioned in the verse. Go back to the verse again. Vacha, speech. Behavior. Ihaya, and thinking. So thinking is something that goes inside. People can't see your thinking. They can see perhaps your thinking reflected in your face. Like I shared this, it was the way that Trivikramaraj told that story. It was just like really quick. If you know him, he goes real fast. But as he was narrating what Prabhupada felt when he asked Prabhupada, what was your most difficult experience in devotional service? Just narrating it, Trivikramaraj's face also became, meditating on how Prabhupada's face became, his face became very grave. So even you're thinking something, the face is the index to the mind. But thinking, speech, and behavior. And the advice of this verse is one should cultivate these three in such a way that utter humility becomes fixed. And anything that stands in the way should be avoided. So we have this, this teaching, devotional teaching, that says the process of surrender starts with these first two. Accept things favorable, reject things unfavorable for bhakti. This is, the foundation for bhakti is humility. It's a condition of heart. It's not just a behavior. It's not just, put on tilak and a dhoti or sari and, raise your arms and dance. Those are behaviors which are wonderful and they can help awaken bhakti, but bhakti is not just the behavior. And that a foundation for that is humility. And as stated, this detachment or actual disliking for materialistic life or life of sense gratification and fruitive activities that can accumulate some wealth, and then with wealth, then I can get some stuff, and then I can be happy, and I don't have confidence in that. Prabhupada said it this way: a devotee by nature is materially pessimistic and spiritually optimistic. Very simple. And that spiritual optimism, what I'm trying to get at here is that spiritual optimism, feel bad, or I ignore it, or try to hide it, or don't feel it. I can feel it. And it's an impetus. because now my heart is open for this describing, same thing that Rupa Goswami describes in Nectar Devotion, that little section called Great Hope, Ashabandha, where there's this expression of humility. I'm disqualified. I'm disqualified in so many ways. Let me tell you how many ways I'm disqualified. This way, that way, the other way. Disqualified. Okay, now your heart's open. Good. You're feeling humble. Now, but there's one wonderful thing. What's that? Krishna is merciful. Don't forget. You're not alone. Bhakti is you're not alone. You're with Krishna. And and by your side is the representative of Krishna. And they're carrying Krishna's mercy. Those representatives of Krishna are carrying Krishna's mercy. So let me stay in close association with those merciful associates. Mercy, and having my heart open and receiving mercy, I'm not feeling empty. I'm feeling maybe not qualified for this mercy, but here comes the mercy. And this utter humility, or profound humility, is the gift that Lord Chaitanya wants to give, that profound humility of love and separation, the intensification of feelings of love through separation. But there's no feelings of separation unless there's attachment. And how do you get the attachment? The heart has to become pure. How do you get the heart pure? You go back. Vishwanath Chakravarti, say the same thing in a different way. Two other ways. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Madhurya Kandamani, describes that the 9 stages of bhakti start with Shraddha and they end in prema, but one way to analyze is just different categories of faith. Faith and faith and faith and faith and faith and faith. Then the mature stage is prema. And the beginning stage is Shraddha. But just go by different stages of maturing. That's the seed. Similarly here, humility. So humility doesn't just mean, self-deprecation. The meaning is described here. It's a feeling, but it's not based on self-deprecation. It's, my tininess. We're tiny. Welcome to reality. We're tiny. And we're in this sea of material energy. And the sea of material energy, by bad association, we're attracted to this, being the enjoyer of the sea of material energy. That propensity is there. That's the prapekshatmika shakti. I'm under that influence of Maya, thinking, there's some opportunity for enjoyment here. When we know better, yet we still continue. Dog obstinacy, Prabhupada would sometimes say. Just keep trying and keep trying, keep trying and keep trying. Like Jarasandha, keep trying. Defeat Krishna. Keep trying, keep trying. Birth after birth. Suffer like a dog and keep trying. That's this potency of Maya. But the potency of Maya, yaya samohito jiva, atmanam trigunatmikam, the living entity, although para, transcendental, due to affinity for matter, one takes on some other identity and tries to enjoy matter according to that covering. But the Maya can be withdrawn. We're dependent. And Krishna is kind. So if the heart opens in that state of humility, then bhakti begins. We can receive. And in the beginning, it's maybe little, but stay with it. And, fantastic in this very mature stage. Sanatana Goswami is telling us that the gopis are feeling great humility in that separation, viraha bhav. So what to speak of where we are? Where we are is not there. Where we are is feelings of humility. Fantastic. Here's a little description from Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaking. It's in, the Sharanagati. He is describing these 6 elements of surrender, and specific to dainya, humility. The bhakta must develop the sense of karpanya, or humility, which makes him feel poverty-stricken, meek, and lowly. This mode of humility is understood as karpanya, or dainya. Continues. Thus, the state of consciousness that is evoked when the heart becomes infused with determination, subservience, trust, dependence, self-surrender, and humility is designated as Shraddha. There's the connection. Shraddha and Shraddha and Shraddha and Shraddha, and different stages of it, depending upon these stages of, you can say, for our discussion, humility. Whosoever attains this Shraddha becomes a fit candidate to execute bhakti, and for the sadhaka, so even in the sadhana stage, this adau Shraddha, then we do sadhu sangha and bhajana kriya as in practice. This Shraddha is the initial step towards the perfection displayed by the eternally liberated, pure jiva souls. Since Shraddha is the fundamental nuance of the jiva's nitya swabhava, so this is now, we just way up to the soul's swabhava, the soul's nature. Swabhava, that term swabhava, commonly is used in Bhagavad Gita, for example. It's used in relation to our psychophysical nature, our embodiment. Brahma karma swabhavajam, Kshatriya karma swabhavajam, etc. Vaishya karma swabhavajam. Here's the jiva's swabhava. And to get to that stage, what's our eternal nature, nitya swabhava? We need humility. That's a price to pay, and it may look like, oh, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt. It's liberating. Because why? Because then the heart is open for descending mercy. It hurts when we forget Krishna, we forget the merciful Supreme Lord and the descending mercy that we can receive when our heart is open. We may not like to have our heart open, and then we suffer another way. We suffer the prapekshatmika shakti. Continue with dog obstinacy, trying to be the enjoyer. Then it's too much, and then we go to some knowledge, and then we feel better, and then we go back to the stubborn obstinacy program. The sine curve, as we were talking last night. All other variations of dharma of the jiva are naimittika. This is a term that both Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta used, and it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well. Krishna Das Kaviraj. It's translated as occasional. So, we have a body, and we have our varnashram dharma. We have our duties according to varna and ashram. And we do them because we have our nature. If we don't acknowledge what our nature is, how are we going to become purified? We'll do, as Krishna says, someone else's duty, or whatever. And it's not what Krishna wants. That is to help us become purified enough so we can get to the soul's eternal nature. it's just a cascading of mercy, that at every step, some position of humility and positions specific to this morning's class, the topic. Narada is instructing, or we can say Sanatana Goswami is instructing, how to receive that gift that Lord Chaitanya wants to give us. It's available through the holy name, but we have to orient ourselves properly to the holy name. That means the heart has to be in proper regard for the holy name, and the circumstances of life that come our way, that's to help us in our feelings of humility recognize that mountain of disqualification, of the absence of real feelings of devotion. And we just can't seem to access it, especially when we're sincerely trying. It's just like chanting attentively. We don't realize, I'll speak for myself, I don't realize how inattentive I am until I try to be attentive. And when you really try to be attentive, how distracted. So then what do? You redouble your effort. And then you realize even more how distracted. So you can get, you go into lamentation, or you can feel despondent, or one of those. But then there's this other option. Like Rabindra Swarup Prabhu, some of you attended the retreat or the seminar that we had in Gitanagari over Labor Day weekend. The greatness of littleness. Remember that one, Rabindra's? The greatness of littleness. It's great feeling little. And our acharyas, our founder acharya, did that himself. And what to speak of our founder acharya, all of our great acharyas. It's just humiliating how humble they were. Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur and Sanatan Goswami and all of them. How humble. How humble. It's not depressing, it's enlivening. It's setting the standard of the heart that's open, receiving, feeling I'm not qualified. Krishnadas Kaviraj, lower than the worm and stool. And it's not just platitude, it's feeling like that. Yet at the same time doing wonderful service. Seems like, a disconnect. Doing wonderful service and feeling unqualified. Miserably unqualified. It's not feeling miserable. Feeling, I need mercy, and receiving mercy, and with that mercy, the credit goes to the mercy givers. And being happy in that relationship of being a recipient of mercy. Exactly as Prahlad did. We discussed yesterday. Being pushed forward to offer prayers. I have no qualification. I have disqualification. I'm abundantly disqualified. But I've been given this service, like we've all have some service. I was thinking to share this with you. I was, this morning, meditating on this verse. Imagine any one of you, or each one of you, if you had the designation of being the ultimate managing authority for ISKCON. And realizing you don't have the qualification. But the service has to be done. So how are you going to feel? Yay, I'm the ultimate managing authority. Although I'm disqualified, yay. You're not going to feel like that. You're going to feel very humble. And if one is feeling otherwise, that's a disqualification. One who's feeling humility, it's at least the beginning of a qualification. And, anything else. We all have some service. Uttama Shlokas here, a candidate for sannyas. So people are, oh, you're a candidate for sannyas. I'm a candidate for sannyas. One who is thinking like that is a disqualification. Or, Nityananda Pran, temple president, oh yeah, I'm qualified. Just see how much people are appreciating me. Or somebody who's whatever it is, the pujari, oh, you dress the deity so nice. Just like Trivandavan was saying, where is she? She's here. Yeah, yesterday, people saying, oh, you did such a nice job. You increased book distribution here in Alachua so much. And whatever it is, people say, oh, you're good. How do we, and it's part of our culture, that we respect devotees. So you're in this culture where you respect devotees and you're supposed to be humble. What do? You don't run the other way. That's impersonal. How do you stay humble? You can just go on the internet and say bad things about people and hear people say bad things about you. That's one option. But the heart has to become pure, and an entry level is this humility. It's the spiritual conception that what is my qualification? Well, I'm tiny. I'm Krishna's part and parcel, and He's most merciful. And my dear devotees, whatever level of humility you have, please understand there's more waiting for you. And there's more waiting after that, and there's more waiting after that. What we're hearing in this little section is, the gopis, where they're honored by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis and all of us, most exalted, and they're feeling most humble. Most profound, utter humility. So keep going with your humility. Don't be discouraged by it. It's a platform, it's an essential platform for receiving descending mercy. There's no shortage other than the shortage of Krishna consciousness. That's Bhaktisiddhanta's statement. There's no shortage in this world except the shortage of Krishna consciousness. And one who has Krishna consciousness means we can know there's humility inside. And our great acharyas, Sanatana Goswami delivering this message, Narada delivering the message, Gopikumara, the recipient of the mercy of the mantra that he's been given, he realizes the fullness of it because of that humility. And the eagerness at the same time, humility and eagerness to attain shelter and mercy, service, in that humble mood. So any comments or questions? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful, enlightening class, and comical also as well. You pretty much answered all my questions, but maybe you can expand on them. Because usually when the Swamis come here and Maharajas like you give usually contemporary examples to kind of illustrate certain points. So I appreciate it. And a couple of examples I want to give is that I appreciated one of my brother's answers, how we could be grateful for and humble with everyone. But before I get to that, there was a similar incident that happened like a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So it was with me, Bhakti Jordan, and Himanshu. So we went on Harinam at Northwestern, and it was the day that actually Obama came to Northwestern. We saw his motorcade.
He came to Northwestern?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we didn't know that either, so we were trying to get past the streets. We were like, what's going on? They was like, Obama's coming. I was like, we didn't know. So we did Harinam, and we saw his motorcade go back and forth.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, Himanshu and I, we were kind of bickering like children. And Bhakti Jordan, this new devotee, his Maha mantra is with devotees, we always like to joke with each other. So he always tells us kind of, softly, don't commit any offenses. That's like his Maha mantra. And so, anyways, when me and mantra were bickering, it was Kali Yu, it was over. But then the next day, it was funny. Jordan made a comment in class the next morning in Bhagavatam class, and this was just an incident I brought up to Jordan yesterday. He made a comment. He was like, maybe I should, I realized that I should lower my standards with devotees because everyone makes mistakes. So then me and Himanshu, a couple months ago, we were thinking he was talking about us the previous day. And so last night, I just told Jordan, I brought this incident up now. I told him I was thinking of telling him that I would have told him, we shouldn't worry about, other devotee standards. We should worry about our own standards. But then I know that was, I've made mistakes like that in the past, but I never told him that because I know it was Maya instructed me. So I never told him that. So that was one point I appreciated. And another point with my brother, Himanshu once asked my brother, he told me, how can I stop finding faults with devotees?
I've heard that question before.
And so my brother gave a very nice answer. It's kind of related to Vyasa Puja, actually. He said, suppose, we may not have a problem now, but he said, suppose if we were to get up, in public and announce all the sinful activities we did in the past, that way we could be humble and grateful for everyone. And so then Himanshu was like, ouch. So I appreciated that answer. So
that's a nice answer. Someone else. Yeah, right behind you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. It was really deep topic. Especially I appreciated the point you made commenting, referring to Prabhupada's comment that devotee is pessimistic about material life and optimistic about spiritual life. And also it's explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that devotee like Maharaj Parikshit is a realist. And so, help me to understand what realist means. So, pessimistic about material and optimistic about spiritual makes one realistic. So, thank you, Maharaj, for that connect in my mind. And the question I wanted to ask is what you referred to, how it is possible that the most exalted devotees like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, and all our acharyas, they speak about themselves in such a derogatory way, even though they're really so exalted. And normally, I know by experience, when I come in the association of very exalted personalities, naturally I myself unqualified. And so I was wondering, is that the case with all these exalted personalities that they compare themselves with, the residents of the spiritual world or something? This is the reason? What would be the real reason why they feel so humble?
My understanding is it's not comparison. It's just a feeling. Say it the other way. Comparison, my understanding of comparison is it's material. Themselves with other devotees. It's material. It's like, it's what we learned in our upbringing of, competing and comparing. I'm better, they're better, feeling, I'm better, feeling envious of another one that's better. And like, like in the first part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the Narada is who is the greatest recipient. So each one that's approached by Narada does the same thing. They deprecate themselves and say, here's one better. And then go to the next person. Oh, just as the previous person said, you're the greatest recipient. No, 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 no. Let me tell you the ways in which I'm not qualified. But one who's really qualified is. So at the end, when, in his commentary, Sanatana Goswami says, actually, they're all most exalted or dearest. But then we have this, transcendental, perfect, more perfect, most perfect, and transcendentally we say the gopis are, the residents of Vrindavan are most perfect, and amongst them the gopis are most perfect, but they're all perfect. So it's more a feeling of heart than it is comparison. I mean, one of the passages I really like in Chaitanya Charitamrita is when Rupa Goswami is asked by Lord Chaitanya to recite his dramas, and the interviewer is Ramananda Roy, the expert in drama. And Rupa Goswami sit with everybody. I'm not qualified. They would all, they're just, like embarrassingly humble. It's part of the territory. It's not a comparison thing. It's certainly when looking at others, I'm not qualified. I can't be in the presence of this exalted person. We experience those things in a minor way. They experience things in a transcendental way. Like I'm sure you have heard, or the devotees here in the audience have heard, the glorifications of Prabhupada, memories of Prabhupada, and maybe 7 out of 10. The person said, came before Prabhupada, I felt through me contamination, and I felt the power of the presence of, let us stay in closest of our founder Acharya, and those who are nicely representing him, and that quality is not just by comparison. It'll be. Yes, Samal.
Maharaj, I was Dr. Narayan, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That although he was expressing humility, or there was certain humility.
He was expressing appreciation of a great personality. What did he do with that was something else.
So it was not humility necessarily, although I'm assuming just...
Certainly, some humility, but it didn't later remembering, but not deep enough that he did something about it.
And I'm that humility that doesn't move the heart, that doesn't allow the heart to open. And then how that applies in our, upside down in devotional service, in expressions of devotion, that sometimes we feel humility and appreciation, and it's easy when you have, someone who is, say an authority, a spiritual master like that. But then it becomes more challenging when we're dealing, with peer devotees, or with, and then when is that situation that humility doesn't go that deep, that not necessarily that the heart is fully open. And I don't know if it's clear.
We return. Is your question what can make the heart open, or is your question why does the heart stay closed?
Yes, but also,
I gave you two options, and you're saying yes.
Well, question of the heart, with humility, because we do have certain humility naturally by being, in the process of Krishna consciousness. There's certain understanding. I'm a spirit soul. I'm a part of Krishna. I'm very tiny. I'm disqualified. All that. But at the same time, sometimes we have false egos.
Not
and
sometimes.
Yeah. And the heart not necessarily is open all the time.
Okay, so your question specifically, I can say anything, but what's your question specifically? You're not sure.
Yes, I'm trying to make it out. But we're in the situation, our situation, how it really applies to us, or what do we do when in those situations of finding our heart is closing in the relationship with the devotee?
This is Hemangi's question from yesterday. Where's Hemangi? This is the same question, isn't it? Were you here last night? Listen to the recording. But I'll summarize. stay in the association of qualified devotees, sincere, on the path to Krishna devotees. Stay in that association and the heart can open. It doesn't guarantee it, but it's more likely to happen than otherwise. You've heard me say probably multiple times. This is, it's not a Puranic thing, it's an observation. Many people join the Hare Krishna movement with their mind. And therefore, there's unsteadiness. So we have to go beyond the mind because the mind is chanchala. That's the sine curve. And sometimes, and sometimes, and sometimes, and sometimes. So how do we open the heart? Well, we discussed last night gratitude. Her question was when the heart becomes closed and that sense of gratitude seems to be gone, what do you do? The other question she asked was, when you're extending care to someone, you see that their heart has closed, what do you do? So what do we do when we're heading in a downward spiral? It's a great opportunity in one sense. You call out and take association and call out again and take shelter of those things that touch your heart, like whatever it is. For you maybe it's kirtan, and somebody else it's reading Srimad Bhagavatam, somebody else it's deep prayer, someone else it's something or something. But in the company of devotees, in the company of like-minded persons. And someone may say, well, I don't have any friends, I don't have any like-minded persons. That's the the Maya taking that stick apart from the bundle and more easily broken. That sense of disconnectedness is it's one of Maya's tricks. So, don't say yes to that. Say no to that and move to the association of those that that have that sense of gratitude, that sense of faith, that sense of hope. And devotees will do that. And if devotees don't do that, they get broken. And it's very painful. Or even bent. And it's hard to take the bent back into shape, but that's what to do. Yes. Over here. Raise your hand again so he can bring the microphone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I always thought, Maharaj, humility is something developed in us naturally with chanting and devotional service. In other words, like humility is a
Not
byproduct.
necessarily. I know some people that chant and get proud. Do you know some people like that? So it's not a vending machine. It's not automatically. Lord Chaitanya indicates one should cultivate that. And this verse is saying also, bhajet, one should cultivate that. And through different means. Your speech, your behavior, your internal contemplations. Along with chanting. What do you think?
But when you do chanting, like maybe the humility is like, I was always thinking it is because of most of our material desires. So along with the chanting, doing devotional service, it should take away some of our desires, and along with that, the
holy
humility
name isn't a janitor. I'm being, blunt. The potency is there, Chetudharpana Marjanam. But we're servants, not he's the servant. We're servants. And if we so desire, like Prahlad yesterday evening, Prahlad was, you want me to take something? Here's the something. Please take away all my desires, other than you, your service. And then when that starts to happen, generally people go, yikes, ouch. Not that one, that's my favorite one. Okay. It's a relationship. We're the servant, he's the master. Last question over here. It's now 9 o'clock.
So my question is, like sometimes, there's a conflict in my mind. So I like the bhakti marga, but the conflict has been that am I spending too much time following the bhakti marga, or is the karma marga more important, where I can work towards upliftment of the poor people, or making a difference to the society? So it's been like bothering me for quite some time.
It's a matter of faith. The question you're asking, the answer to it, it's a matter of faith.
Okay.
And one should not act artificially beyond one's capacity of faith. In other words, my position may be here, like you're describing. Someone else's position may be here. The ultimate attainment is way up there. I can't pretend to be way up there and just march along like I'm way up there. I'm here. But when I'm here, let me know that I should know. That's the goal. So let me work here in such a way I can get to the next stage, so that my faith grow naturally.
So what can I do to harmonize, like between the karma, what I really want to do for the betterment of society, and also my, follow the bhakti marg in a sense.
Try to connect one with the other. That is to say, people. There are these billboards. People are hungry. So, involve yourself with prasadam distribution. And when there's prasadam distribution, side by side with that, kirtan, and at least the opportunity for people to hear the message of Krishna or receive some simple information, brochure or a little booklet or something, and connect the two. Dovetail, Bhaktisiddhanta's term. Connect this with that, and then make it strong. So then, bhakti is connecting with the material. It's not Shuddha bhakti, but it's going to elevate this other one in a natural way, not in an abrupt and non-sustainable way. And if you're not clear how to do that, then consult with those that are experienced devotees, and they can help guide you how to do that. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.